GM, we are back once again. Another genius call, another outstanding guest. We're going to dive in really quickly on this episode, but I'm going to give a couple of high points. I hope that you have followed along with all of our announcements at NFT Paris. We have some exciting things with our Trom by CPG partnership. It's been a lot of work in the making, and I think we have a lot of fun announcements alongside that. We have Love Mode going. Hope that the community can really take part in the burn mechanism from our light and dark mode. And we're excited to keep rolling out more rewards as you continue to update your profile. So please connect to rewards.cryptopackagegoods.com. We promise it is worth your while. Also, our accelerator is in full swing. And if you were able to watch our really exciting pitch day, there's still more benefits to be had. So please continue to join. It is not something that you missed the boat on. You can join us now. You can continue to meet other entrepreneurs in Web3, other builders. We have a stellar set of courses and activities for folks to really sharpen their skill sets. And we appreciate you coming online with us and coordinating and just having a good time. There's a lot of friendships that have been forged out of these chats, out of these cohorts of our accelerator. And we look forward to having more and more people join our CPG community. And speaking of our CPG community, our guest this week is somebody that I think participates, and I'm fortunate and thankful in that I don't know that our worlds would have crossed except for this love of Web3. So our current Genius Call guest is Guillaume Huot, who you will probably know as Arsonic or Arsonic, depending on how you pronounce it. He is the co-founder of Zeblocks and Sgt Pepe World, and we have a really fun set of questions and interview states for him. Arsonic, because I'm not going to call you Guillaume because I really am not good at pronouncing things outside of Northeastern New York dialect. How are you doing? Welcome. Thank you for having us.
Hi, thank you, Mikey. Doing well. Super happy to be here today with you. And yeah, can't wait to tell you a little more about my my little story around NFTs and crypto.
I particularly love degens, and I feel like the NFT diaries, I love them for a number of reasons. One, I'm horrible at it, like full stop. I am not somebody who has necessarily been good at spotting early waves of meta or what the latest cultural meme is. I'm very much like a late adopter in a certain part of the early adoption curve, which can be frustrating at times, but I think is also like I'm at peace with it. And we've talked about, just before the call, a lot of instances of meme culture, but you have a really interesting eclectic background that you've pulled forward into these two now co-founded startups that are entrenched in both the metaverse and NFTs and also meme culture and Web3. But how did you start in the beginning of this? Like, where did you come from? Because I think when we are in the NFT diaries and when folks are just chatting, like it's sort of lost, but it's fascinating, I think, what you've shared selectively and how you've come about it.
Yeah. So yeah, my background is I had a web agency for around 15 years, up until 2015. In 2015, some friends told me about Bitcoin. So I dived in. I like new technologies and stuff like that. So I bought my first Bitcoin. I then started mining. I did some blockchain development. And yeah, in 2017, I've been lucky enough to work with Snowfro, Eric from Allblocks. And he's the one who hooked me up with the NFT world, which I really loved. And yeah, I did my first generative art in 2020. Was in season 2 of Allblocks with the Unigrids. Yeah, I'm touching everything. I love technology. I love to push boundaries around, and also love memes. Memes have been a big part of everything I've done in the past on Twitter or in private chats. It's something I always used. Even I'm early guy in Top Shot. I was known for the meme guy in Top Shot early on. That's all the stuff I love around crypto and the Web3 people.
15 years is a long time to be in an industry. It's a long time to be an entrepreneur in a specific category. What are some of those skills that you were using in the Web 2 space that sort of made your transition and your interest easy? Like, can you dig in on the specific tech? Because I think web dev has gone through this crazy transformation where, like, my early days of internet were like bulletin boards.
Yep.
But then when I started to have my professional career, it was a lot of Flash. And then Steve Jobs put a bullet in that.
Yep.
And then you had to like move into like HTML5 and CSS and, you know, really leaning into JavaScript. So what tech there interested you that sort of like overlapped, or was it a complete departure?
Yeah, I think what helped me a lot with the blockchain tech, it's my design background actually. First blockchain project and everything had shit marketing. They had no design at all or anything to promote themselves. So I think I brought that in early for some projects, and then of course with my web agency background, I had some coding knowledge. So I started digging a bit into the blockchain, but it's in C++, which I'm not that good. But yeah, I've been developing front end for some blockchains. I think that's where I was excelling compared to other projects. So definitely my design background was what got me into crypto blockchain at first, and then yeah, of course with NFTs and generative arts, I mix a bit of the design and the coding part.
It's fascinating, the design element. I think Chris and Jamie particularly have this really beautiful lens at which they look through the world and can kind of like, I admire in Chris a lot his ability to like spot something early and be like, this is going to be a thing. I think when you grow up in design as your first approach to looking at things, it has this really interesting result in that you do get ahead of trends. It's like part of your specific role and job is to be on that edge. And I think for Web 2 and Web 3, like the early folks who saw the value of it sort of were able to capitalize on it. But the folks who really then designed well around that first experience really took it, I think, as a rocket. You mentioned Top Shots. Was that your first NFT, or like where did you like really specifically join into the NFT community, if you can consider NFTs a community?
Yeah. So yeah, Top Shot was not my first NFT, but it was very close to it. Of course, Snowfro told me about the punks when they were free to claim, and I thought it was stupid at the time, so didn't claim any. And but yeah, after that, I've heard of Nail-X project called Squiggly What the Fuck. That was my first NFT I minted. It was crazy process to mint one, and I love what Nate is doing, is pushing on-chain stuff. I think that's why I'm doing that much on-chain project as well. I like to push. I like the decentralization of it, or the purity of it, I would say, to have everything on chain. It has some limits, but yeah, that's really what I like to do. So Squidly What the Fuck were my first ones. Then Top Shot was definitely my biggest investment back then, which worked very well. I did mint some Bored Apes, and yeah, after that, I've been into everything.
Well, you talk about being on that edge. So Zeblocks is part of what you've co-founded, and you have Sebi, who you co-founded Zeblocks with. and collaborated with him on it, or them on it. What was the inspiration for Zeblocks, and tell us a bit about like what it actually is for folks who don't know.
Yeah. So Zeblocks is it's a generative art, I would say company, but it's a duo, me and Sebi, like you said. I know Sebi from a blockchain project I was working on for about, I don't know, 7 years now. So we've been side by side working on many things together. And yeah, when Snowfro launched Hard Blocks, he asked me if I would be interested of building something over there. So I looked into generative arts, and that's where it started. I asked Sebi if because Sebi is the brain, he's the guy who put the code together. I'm more the artistic part of the duo. I have the ideas and the visuals, and Sebi does all the math script and all the crazy shit. That's from him. So it started from there after Snow talked to me about it, and then we have developed the first. Our first project was Unigrid. We did at first we did a pattern that we thought was cool, but it was not enough for me. I wanted to do more, so I told Sebi we will do music on chain. Called me crazy at first, but we finally put it together, and we have been the first one to put generative music on chain.
Fantastic. Elaborate a little bit more on like that back and forth between you and he, and why was music so important for you to put on chain at that time?
It could have been something else, to be honest, but I really wanted to do more than others, to be unique, because I mean there's been great drops on odd blocks and amazing stuff, but I really wanted to push boundaries a bit, and music had not been done before, so it's something I looked into. I did some research, and I saw some possibility there, and yeah, there's been back and forth with Sebi on how to implement it and if it's possible or not, because putting things on chain require to minimize your script a lot, because the space in the block costs money, so you can't really just push a 6 megabyte file on chain just for the fun of it. It will cost you thousands of dollars. So that's the hard part of on-chain stuff. You often stuck with limitation of your script size and what you can do. So yeah, you need to work around and try to minimize everything to be able to put it on chain.
So for the folks that are listening, I think you're sort of underselling Unigrids.
Yeah, that's me.
Just a little bit. So I'm gonna try and tease this out, because like even in the chats, you've been doing so many active things. You're there all the time, and I just like look. A lot of folks will be like, man, such a great insight from Arsonic. Like we have like a side chat of the core team, and we're like, Arsonic's throwing some bangers in the chat, and we're like, great. But Unigrids, for the folks that don't know, was one of 19 that was included in pretty much a historic auction with Sotheby's. Like, so it's like you just sort of casually mentioned Unigrids, and you throw around, for people who don't know who Snowfro is, like another Artblocks founder, a technology and a company that has been doing a lot of wonderful things that really is propelling art forward, specifically generative art, for folks that are at this edge of it. And if you haven't taken the time to, as a listener, to go through and spend some time just looking at generative art, and like animated or non-animated, with music, without 3D rendered or 2D, it is this beautiful state that it's transitive. Like you can look at it and put yourself into, is transitive the word? You can put yourself into like this beautiful state of trance by looking at them. So Unigrids was the first project, and like you said, you collaborate on it. What was the experience like with Sotheby's? Like, how did that come to be, and how did you really embrace what was in front of you? Because it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that year, I think it was 2021 on. I think they did the auction at Sotheby's. I don't remember. Maybe end of 2020. Actually, all blocks help a lot to put that together. And one morning they just sent us a message to announce the good news that we will be auctioned at Sotheby's. And yeah, it was very exciting, very overwhelming to. I mean, there's people working all their life to get there, and just like that, we got an auction with them. So it was pretty crazy. And not long after, we did Christie's as well. So it was an insane year in terms of what we had accomplished with our hearts.
I think the passion really shines through. If you visit the Art Block site, you can see with your eyes, like the artists that are working, the work that they're producing. This is not like like you talked about scripting it, which is a really important piece of the process. But generating the art itself is not click a filter in Photoshop and hit go. It takes iteration, it takes a lot of process. It takes time to like get it to where your feeling of what you want to have produced matches the code. So talk a little bit about your process for creating generative art. And then I really want to understand from that process, you have 2 other projects that are in Zeblocks. We'll go into those as well.
Awesome. So yeah, during the process, I would get that crazy idea out of nowhere. It's generally how it starts. And once I have this idea, we chat about it with Sebi, and we decide if it's good or not to put more time in it. And if so, I will mock up a first design on Photoshop or Illustrator. And yeah, after that, we need to reproduce that on a generative script. That's like you said, it's not like drawing a line in Photoshop. You need to mathematically create it. So it's all about maths. And I to be honest, I don't know how Sebi's doing it. Is a genius. It's not that easy. It's super complex for me. Even though I know a bit of programming, it's not something I'll be able to do myself. Super glad to have him around. But yeah, I'll draw mock up, and then we can work weeks or months. I mean, like Unigrids, I think it took us 3 months to produce. And then after that, same thing for beatboxes that we'll talk after. Probably around maybe even more. I think 6 months to produce the beatboxes, and so yeah, it's not a quick turnaround thing that you draw one night and you send the other day for mint.
So let's elaborate on Beatboxes and Sensthesia. Beatboxes, as I understand it and have looked at it, is a metaversal version of Unigrids in a certain sense, in that it is a 3D environment that also has in that 3D environment sound and music. And then Sensthesia, I'm less clear on.
Yep.
But tell us about those 2 projects and like what your goals are for those.
So yeah, beatboxes. What's unique about them is they are the first immersive generative arts, which means they are VR. What we did is kind of a cube that you can go inside with your Oculus and move around, and there's shapes in it moving, and there's also beats. I think the beats that we created with them are a lot better than Unigrids. Unigrids was our first, but the beats in the beatboxes, I think they turn out very well. It's not that easy to make generative music that sound like something. So yeah, having the VR and those beats was exceptional at the time. I think maybe too early for the time. Metaverses were just starting, so people didn't. I would say people didn't catch what we're trying to do back then. It went super well. The mint went super well, but the beer market hit after, so people kind of forget about them. But it's still one of my favorite project that we did in terms of technology. I think we did a great job there. And Sensthesia, it's still around music. It's a subject that come around a lot. I'm not saying it will we're still doing that in the future or not, but we like playing with it. It's another dimension that we can bring to our NFTs. So Sensthesia is an audio sensible NFT, which means it will take the ambient music or sound that you have in a room or in a club or whatever, and the NFT will move around that sound that the device will catch. So it's like a visualizer, but from the NFT on chain.
Have you ever seen the movie Tron?
Yeah.
Is it like a bit from Tron where it sort of like reacts in that sense?
In that sense, yeah, I would say yes. It's very similar to that. The idea was wanted to create something that it's, because there's more digital screens that are coming. So we're hoping to have something that is nice to hang on the wall. But then let's say you have a dinner with people, it just start moving when people talk, or if you put some music, it will vibe around the music that you put in the house. So that was the idea around Synesthesia.
Fantastic. I think that's... Somebody brought up to me the other day about early days where Bill Gates invested in his home and having the walls covered in flat panel displays so that he could change his environment. And I think, he's a billionaire, so clearly there's a lot there. Yeah. But I think the emergence of this connected world we live in, and then being able to set mood, like the basic version of that is probably using your lights to change colors at your command. This is extremely creative in that you have an NFT that you own that also synthesizes the environment around you. It's fascinating to think about where that could go and how it could be leveraged. And for Zeblocks, so you've had Unigrids was your project for art blocks. You have Beatboxes there. Tell us a little bit more about what's coming up for Zeblocks.
Yeah, so we have something big coming up, actually. We are dropping a project with the Marilyn Monroe estate, probably around the end of the month, I would say. I don't have an exact date, but yeah, that's something huge for us as well. I would have never imagined working for someone like Marilyn Monroe, besides like the handy world of this world. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. It's something that come out of nowhere. One day they reach out to us and ask us if we will be open to work with them on something. So yeah, we're very grateful for that.
We'll include in the show notes all the links to all of this information, because I think it'll be important for folks to be able to dig in and click on links to understand the breadth of it. One quick reminder is that we do POAPs. So at this point, you should be able to redeem a POAP when this goes into our community. So for the folks listening, the POAP should be live. You should be able to claim Arsonic's POAP as part of our, again, the rewards program, rewards.cryptopackagegoods.com. Let's turn our attention to the memes. I have this really interesting relationship with memes personally, and I'm going to elaborate on it a little bit before we get into your current and other adventure with them as a co-founder. So I went through this crazy divorce, and as part of like transitioning with my kids, every Wednesday, my boys come back to my house. By the time I get my daughter to bed, our routine for winding down the night is watching this YouTuber who tries to look at memes and not laugh. He's pretty famous. I don't need to mention him here, but we have been watching him for like over a year and a half. And I have two teenage boys. They are 16 and 13, and we try not to laugh, but we invariably laugh. What's fascinating to me about this as a parent is like I'm trying to connect with my kids and meet them where they're at, And meme culture spans like folks that are way older than I am and all the way down into like the youth of things. Like I think it's impossible. It probably was called something before meme culture, but memes themselves have this really interesting transformative property where they can be really front and center in larger popular culture, but also have these small derivatives in close settings that take on interesting meaning for your group or your chat or your group of friends or whoever it's with. And you've latched on to this. You have Sgt Pepe World, and it's, you had mentioned you were like the meme generator for Top Shots. Tell us about Sgt Pepe World and what you have going on there in that project.
Yeah. First of all, like you said, um, it's for all age. Like when people first meet me or saw me, they always tell me that they imagine me a lot younger. I'm 42, doing memes for a living. So yeah, that's something I've heard a lot. Like
But
people
you
get.
are like the youth's dream right now. It's like how kids are like, how do I become you?
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, it's a funny thing that I get a lot when people know my age. So yeah, I mean, memes. I've been doing some for just for the fun of it forever. I've been on Twitter. I'm on crypto Twitter since 2016. So even back then, Pepe was around. Pepe always been around the crypto world, crypto space, and yeah. Actually, more recently with the 6529 collection, it's where it all started. Actually, the story behind it is that I reached out to 6529 because I knew him from something else around the Unigrid times, and I reached out because I wanted to do a generative art for the project, so which we are working on, and the Series 1 holder will get eventually. That's how it started, and then while we were chatting, I decided to draw something just for the fun and show him, and then he said, "Oh, let's go, let's make a card with it." At first, I did only the patch on Sgt Pepe. That was my first art, and he said, can you elaborate a little more? Can you make something else around it?" So yeah, I start thinking, and I come up with Sgt Pepe, which is kind of a Top Gun guy with the patch and the Pepe face, and luckily, or I don't know how it happened, people really liked it, and I think it started the run a bit on the 6529 memes. And here I am right now. I decided to, with the success it had, I decided to elaborate the whole world around it with many more characters, many more memes. The project is more around, it's around the heart at first. I really want people to enjoy the heart that I will be dropping, but on top of that, we want to create a little world on the Unreal Engine for people to have fun around. We want to create little games. There will be leaderboards, there will be rewards, there will be physicals, there will be a lot of stuff. But the center of the project is really the heart. We don't want people to think that we'll be building a 3A game from like I don't know, like Board Hip are trying to do right now. It's not the goal, but we want to create entertainment and fun around the projects, and the end goal is to bring a lot of that to open metaverse, and we want to try and help 6529 ecosystem to grow. I think it's a great opportunity using the memes and like he's doing right now to bring a lot more people together into one metaverse and explore where we can go.
So previously, Pepe has this kind of interesting arc, and we sort of touched on it early, and it sounds like that's not the original intent of yours. Because I think, look, not Sergeant Pepe, but Pepe was used as a symbol of hate for a little while. It then sort of got co-opted back to the fun part of it. can you just clarify your stance on like what Pepe means for you and how you want to see it move forward?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Pepe always been a fun character, a character that's out there to bring fun or less fun messages, not hate message, but it's always easier to use an image than words. So when you browse a timeline on Twitter and you see a Pepe doing something, you get it. I mean, you know what's it all about. Like you said, Pepe started as a symbol and got caught by some fascist group. But for me, it's not that at all. I think the Web3 crypto people uh, used it as in a fun way to regroup, to connect with people, and I think it's working amazingly. Even I mean, everyone lately are doing Pepe stuff. You have seen Kozomo doing something with the checks, and everyone using Pepe right now. So if it will be a fascist symbol, I don't think it will be that popular. So no, for me, it's a character that is easy to meme and have do crazy stuff and bring crazy messages.
It does bring up this interesting Creative Commons and the memification of things, sort of CC0 really. How important is CC0 and what are your thoughts on that in terms of building community and how folks can really derive other work is, I think, a big part of communities these days is taking something and twisting it a bit and shaping it a bit and moving it on their own. What were your thoughts about that for Sgt Pepe World, and what's your thoughts on CC0 just in general?
Yeah, I mean, for me, CC0 is amazing. I know there's a lot of artists that don't like people to use their work or their, I would say, IP, but for me in crypto, I haven't seen any IP really selling anything yet. Like maybe the punks, I've sold their IP, but in general, people don't buy IPs at all. And for me, it's not something that it's important. I would rather have people using my heart and creating derivative. I think it's an amazing way to have free marketing. I won't lie. The more people use your heart, the more people will try to dig what the origin of it. So it's really free marketing, having everyone using your heart, and it's also touching. I mean, if they use your heart to spend some time making something else, it's because they like it at first. So it's always nice to see someone coming up with the derivative, and I always try to support as many people as possible over there. So yeah, CC0. I think it's an important thing for development of Sgt Pepe and communities. Make it a lot easier than restricting everyone in what they can do with their NFT.
Anybody who knows my Web3 journey understands how much I love both pixelated art and CC0. At some point in the future, I will get a noun. I don't have one yet, but I love the derivatives that come from that. And the Cryptodes, I think, is another wonderful project. Moonbirds, all of them leaning into that CC0 and allowing derivative works, I think, as you said, not just of free marketing, but the feeling that is generated around it, where you can take the meta of what is being put forward and create an interesting flavor of it that you put your own heart on, I think really becomes a powerful expansion of what the original idea is, because you have the original idea and then you have like, this is my take on it. I think as an artist, it's an important piece of moving forward, both discussions and also just getting the brand widely adopted. One of the pieces of NFT Diaries that I am in awe of your expertise in is really looking at trends. You seem to hit early trends. You have like, I mentioned that you were a DJ early. I think that's like a very broad categorization of folks. Where are you in terms of what you're seeing in the current kind of zeitgeist of Web3? We've seen like PFPs start to come back around. We had checks just happen, which was another, I think checks burn tomorrow?
Or
yesterday. They burned yesterday.
I think so.
Yeah, no, that's right. Checks burned yesterday. So where are you finding the pulse of things? I also find that like people's brains operate really interestingly, and that's sort of like, I'm not going to ask you to explain your brain, but what are you thinking about in terms of where Web3 is going now, and like what trends have excited you, or what trends are like, it's maybe not going to be that good?
So yeah, inspiration-wise, Twitter, I would say. Twitter is my primary inspiration. Like you said, I'm catching early on the let's say stuff in the actualities. Like when people talk about the porch NFT, I did a piece with it with Pepe that's saying this is fine, but because the porch NFT was dropping a lot. So yeah, I've been grabbing a lot of inspiration off Twitter, and everywhere else. When I do my Sgt Pepe World, I will think of, I'm trying to build new characters that will be able to interact in the world, and eventually maybe make comic books out of it and stuff like that. I mean, I want to give the more tool possible for the people to create around it. So if I give them characters, and if I give them elements like airplanes or cars, or I don't know, they can build more stuff around it. So that's my goal with Sgt Pepe World, to bring as much stuff as possible for people to create around it. And in terms of trends, I don't know if I can say that. I've never been a big fan of PFPs. Well, at least not the latest one. Some work well, many don't. In terms of PFPs, I'm more an art guy, of course. I think art is easier to stay in time, because I mean, there's a lot of people that collect just to flip it and make money, and that's normal. I do it as well. It's a normal process. But when you collect some arts that you like, I think it's easier to hold long term, because this is what you choose to get. I don't think you can attach yourself, or maybe it's me, the same way to FPFP of an ape or anything else. I don't know. That's probably the artistic side of myself. So I think art will always be better over time. It's super cliche to say, but at the end of the day, you still have your NFT, even though if it's worth nothing. It's sad when you pay thousands of dollars for it, but at least you'll have a piece that you like in your wallet. And where it's going, Web3, I think, have crazy. I have no limits right now. I think in terms of metaverse, and I think in terms of fashion. I mean, I'm the DAO called RepDAO, which is a fashion DAO. It's a branch of Flamingo DAO, and all we do, we invest in fashion NFT. We've bought some Dolce Gabbana NFTs, and I think it's something that will be coming when there's a good metaverse that incorporate many people easily. You flex in real life, people flex in real life, they will flex in the metaverse. So fashion, watches, or whatever NFT will be a trend as well. Yeah, that's probably one aspect. I could go on for the day on what I think metaverse and Web3 will be.
I want to pull that thread. Before you go there, as an artist, you have an art block, generative art project. What do you feel about, and what are your thoughts on the open editions that have been sort of making their way through in more recent history?
It's not for me. Let's say that. Uh, I think there was good use of it, but people have been milking it lately. Everyone's doing an open editions, and yeah, after that you need to do some burn mechanics and do crazy stuff around to maintain the price and try to maintain the price. And I don't think it's what it's all about. If you're going to do an open edition, it's probably best to set it free and let people collect it and don't have anything to do, anything to say. We haven't paid anything, so it's what you get.
You mean exactly what CPG did for our burn mechanic.
All right, cool. But yeah, it's probably not bad to, like you said, for community, everyone mint a free open edition, and you can start building around it. But yeah, for me, I think it's there's been a lot of not money grabbing. I don't like to say that, but opportunist people using it, and I think at the end of the day, it might hurt their brand, because eventually open edition might not be a thing, and people will look what this guy have, and you have 20,000 of one NFT, and if they want to collect something from that guy specifically, they'll probably go for that one, as it's cheaper than a more limited edition.
Yeah, I do think when we looked at it, we really did a lot of investigation around what the trend was. I think there's a common unintended consequence trap that lots of folks fall into. And I think it speaks back to your earlier point of you spent months working on pieces of, each of your projects. And I think part of the value of, like, you're moving very fast in certain respects, but you're also moving deliberately in others. That's a key piece of understanding what you offer, and not painting yourself into a corner is really an important piece of being able to leverage what's happening quickly, but also understanding that it's very permanent when you put things out there on the blockchain.
It is, yeah. Definitely.
When you think back on your career to this point, we're pretty much the same age, and I think my therapist has told me I'm firmly entrenched in a midlife crisis. I've said this to Bobby Hundreds, he laughed, but I'm leaning into it. When you think back on your career and the pivot into Web3, what are some things that you reflect upon more commonly, if you do, or you would just give a piece of advice for folks that are looking, because we have a lot of folks, I think, that want to move into Web3 more full time. What are the things that you can sort of, in hindsight, considered or would put forward now of like, hey, you should really think about this before you move, before you leap into it?
Yeah, I'm probably a good example for that. In 2018, January 1st, it's when I decided to let go of the agency to go full-time crypto. And then we hit the 2-year bear market. So the timing was just perfect. I left the agency go, and then decided to go full-time crypto, and the bear market. I mean, I was lucky enough to have enough fun to go through it, but it was stressful because you just left I've been building that company for 15 years, and you just decide, okay, that's enough. Let's move to something else. And so yeah, you need to be prepared to have a lot of stress. Web3 is very stressful. It's not just a fun ride. People see only the success stories, but they don't see the backstories. When there's a good when you see a good timing, there's a lot of hours coming in. You can be not working for 4 months, and then you need to do 90 hours a week for the next couple weeks or months. That's how you succeed in Web3. You need to put the hours in when it's time, and you need to stay active even though there's nothing happening. That's how you also catch the next wave. Um, it's not something that you need to think through and be certain that you have at least some fun to go through it at first and see if it works or not for you. And yeah, I love what I'm doing. I will not change anything in the world, but I've had some rough days as well.
That is the plight of entrepreneurs and builders. Like, I am not a like hustle culture proponent of like the theatrics of showing you're hustling. To me, like, the proof is in the receipts, not in what you say is in the receipts. And it takes time. And it takes that. I've described it to people as a crucible, and they're like, yeah, that's pretty spot on. It's like you're getting forged every day.
Yeah.
With what you choose to do or not do. For the longer term, what projects, I mean, clearly besides Zeblocks and Sgt Pepe World, what are you excited about? What is something that you, and it could be something that doesn't exist, it doesn't have to be a project, but what about the tech excites you? And what are some things that you're looking forward to in Web3?
So in Web3, I would say personally, I'm excited about maybe some kind of membership NFTs, like Links are trying to do. I would say Links DAO, or something attached to real estate. I want to see more merging from the NFT to the real world. That's something I'm very excited about. Something I will probably develop around as well in the future. I'll probably be able to tell me more in the next year or so. But it's something I'll try to push, and something I think we'll see a lot more. Uh, People will get to know NFTs a little more and to understand them a little bit more. And when that happens, I think, let's say, I don't know, theaters will be able to use, maybe not theaters, but shows, so you can keep a little souvenir of your show in NFT that will be also your ticket and stuff like that. Right now, people are not ready for it, and the infrastructure may be too hard for the current people to use. But eventually, I think that will come, and everyone will be using NFT without knowing it at some point. I think so. So that's something I'm very excited about. I can't put my finger on something. We'll see new trends, and I will probably jump on something when it happens. That's where I'm good at, to get early on something. AI for sure will be around and stuff like that.
Can you give us some alpha for Sgt Pepe World?
Alpha for Sgt Pepe World. Some alpha. Let's see. I would say early on I would probably have something different, a drop in partnership with a platform around that is coming. I also want to attach, like I was hinting before, maybe an NFT with something physical that you can enjoy, events, or I don't know, places. And I don't want to say too much right now, but there's a lot coming around Sgt Pepe, and I hope people enjoy it, to be honest.
I'm excited for it. I have to do a little bit more digging and kind of retrace, because I think I caught up with Sgt Pepe Worlds. I'd missed the snapshot, so I got to figure out how to get around that. But we have a couple minutes. I want to leave you the last word on anything that you want to cover. And really, like, the question that I'll pose for what you want to cover is circling sort of back to how people are thinking about getting into Web3. What is something that is unexpectedly surprised you about this Web3 community that you would say keeps pulling you forward and keeps you excited about it on a day-to-day basis? Because I think we talk about getting, taking the L's, which is like the bear market comes frequently. But what are the things that really keep you moving forward that maybe are not apparent to folks that are in it?
Well, Web3, like I said before, Web3 is sometimes really hard, but I think what's special about Web3 is all the connection you can make. It's I've made connection with people I've never been able to in Web2. You just don't reach out to CEOs of multi-million company like that in Web2, but in Web3, you know someone that knows someone, and the next thing you know, you're in a chat with those guys, and you joke around. I mean, they are all normal people, regular people, and you have fun with them. Web3, for all the connection you can make and all the support you get from those guys as well. Web3 community tends to stay very friendly, and I've helped a lot of people, and a lot of people have helped me in the past. And I think those are relation that stays in time, and that's probably what I like the best around the Web3 ecosystem.
I could certainly empathize with moving from a place of how can I help you is the starting point that unlocks how other people can help you back. It's certainly been one of the more fun things to help people in small and large ways. And I think, like you highlighted, there are folks that you would just have never crossed paths with that this interesting part of the internet really facilitates.
100%. Yeah.
Well, we are at time. If you haven't redeemed the PO app, you should do that. If you haven't created a profile at rewards.cryptopackagegoods.com, you should do that too. Arsonic, Guillaume, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your knowledge and your perspective. I very much look forward to Sgt Pepe World. I look forward to seeing more of the Zeblocks drop with Marilyn Monroe collection and the estate. That's really pretty special, especially in these times where folks who have been long past really get to be resurrected and have their legacy continued on. And I think in the blockchain specifically, like, it's really important to understand that moment in time. Thank you for joining us. We'll hope to have you back and talk more about Sgt Pepe World.
Awesome. Thank you, Mikey. Anytime if you want me around, I'll be available for you guys.
Great. We'll see you in the chats.
Cool.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.